The overwhelming stress had become normal. Paydays came and went, but there was never anything to show for it. When we looked back on the past 7 years of our adult lives and how we had spent all of our money, all we had to show for all of that hard work was basically just debt. We had nothing productive to show for all of those years of hard work. And we just realized one day that this was an abundant life. This was never ending survival mode. And people would talk to us about retirement and our future, and we would just kind of laugh and roll our eyes because we couldn't even think that far in the future, because all we were worried about was keeping the electricity on and keeping food on the table. And that's definitely no way to live. One day we had finally had enough of survival mode, and the steps that we took next to get from survival mode to debt-free changed our family forever. And that's what I want to share with you here today. Hey guys, I'm Sami Womack from A Sunny Side Up Life, and today I want to tell you how to go from survival mode to debt-free. So this is something that I get asked a lot, and for good reason, because it's really hard, especially when you're in the middle of survival mode, to even think about being debt-free. And I talk about this all the time, but we were to that point where when somebody would ask us about retirement, we would just kind of laugh and roll our eyes, because how can you even think about retirement when you're struggling just to keep the electricity on and you're struggling just to keep groceries on the table? How can you even worry about that many years in the future? The answer is you can't. You have to get out of survival mode and into that journey before you can even think about it. And there's several steps in the middle, which is what I want to talk to you guys about today. So I have this reader question, and I've heard this question several times in many different ways, but this question says, how will I ever be able to get over barely being able to pay my bills to actually become debt-free? So basically what that question is saying is, how can I even break free of survival mode to even think about becoming debt-free? So I have all the steps for you here today of what we did in the order that we did it in to get to where we are today. Okay, so today's video is going to be a little bit of tough love, because I'm always honest with you guys, and I never try to tell you guys that this is a super simple journey that once you make up your mind, that's all you gotta do. No, I always tell you guys that it's a lot of work, and sometimes you have to get your hands dirty. Sometimes you're gonna break a sweat, and not the entire journey is a pretty thing. So I'm going to share a little bit of tough love with you guys here today, and hopefully get you motivated and show you these 6 steps that we took on our journey to becoming debt-free. So number 1 is to get fed up. And this is like so important, you guys. You have to get sick and tired of being sick and tired. But this time, instead of just complaining about it, you have to actually do something about it. And we were the same way. We spent years and years and years saying, this is ridiculous. We shouldn't be living like this. But then we never do anything about it. But when we finally hit that rock bottom, what changed was that we let that anger and frustration build up, and we let it push us into something better. And we got so mad at our situation, and we got so mad at our old selves that we couldn't even stand it anymore. And we had to do something different because we were just so mad at ourselves. So you have to get to that point where you are so sick and tired of being sick and tired that it pushes you into that. And that's something that you can't really make yourself do. And people will ask me all the time, how do you get started with budgeting? And you can tell they're not to that point yet. They don't have that fire to push them yet. And that's something that you can't give to somebody else. You know, when you get to that point, you're to that point and you're ready to do it. So when you finally get to that point that you are just so sick of hearing yourself complain, you're so tired of it, take all of that frustration and anger and bottle it and let it be your fuel to push you into something better. Number 2 is change your mindset. You guys know that I'm huge on mindset, positive thinking, and everything that comes with that. And for good reason, because you can't do anything with your mind in the wrong place. And it's just like the first step to get fed up. You have to get to that mental place before you can take all of the physical steps. The mental steps are always first. So you change your mindset. You stop looking at work like a punishment. It's not a punishment, it's a blessing. You have a job that's providing you income. Even if you don't love it, it's not a punishment, it's a huge blessing. And you start looking at every paycheck as your ticket out of survival mode. Every dollar counts at this point. When you change your mindset into that, is every dollar is $1 closer to becoming debt free. Work starts to feel like a blessing. You start to not dread it as much because you're like one day closer to retirement, one day closer to being debt free, one day closer to whatever it is, and it's not a punishment anymore. It actually feels great to go to work because you're actually accomplishing something and you're moving forward with your goals. And you just realize that every single paycheck, every single dollar gets you one step closer, and you start to look at the bigger picture. You don't wake up on Monday anymore and go, oh, it's Monday, I don't want to go to work. You look at the bigger picture and you're like, this is a great life and I'm moving forward with my goals. Once you flip that mindset, everything is going to change for you. Number 3 is to create a written budget. So your mindset's in the right place now, and now you've got to get your hands dirty and actually create that budget. You have to tell every single dollar where to go, or you're going to wonder where it went. Have you ever, this is something that actually happened to us, is we had a truck payment for, I think, like 6 years. And all those whole 6 years, we kept saying, when the truck is paid off, we're going to do ... When the truck is paid off, we're going to do, well, we finally came to the time where the truck was paid off and we didn't do any of those things because we didn't tell that extra money where to go, and it disappeared. It disappeared because we weren't watching it. So you have to tell every single dollar where to go. We wasted thousands of dollars. We had a solid 6 months in there between the time our truck was paid off and the time we started budgeting that we wasted thousands and thousands of dollars. We have no idea where it went because we weren't watching it. And that seems really crazy to me now, but you have to tell every single dollar where to go. No more guessing, no more just hoping one day you'll wake up and be debt free. You have to get intentional with your money. And if you see that you're coming up short in your budget, and your budget is negative, you have to fix it. You have to fix it. You have to take steps to be more intentional with your money. It is so important. So number 4 is how you become intentional with your budget, is you reduce your expenses and you increase your income. If you don't like how your budget looks, then you have to do one of these or both of these. Most people do both. We did both. So if you don't like how your budget looks, do something about it. Cut back your expenses. I have a great blog about this where I shared 33 tips, and I actually turned it into a 2-part video series because it was so many tips. And there's even more than what I shared in that one blog. But there's so many ways to cut back your expenses. You have to challenge yourself if you ever want your life to look any different. And also, don't be afraid to increase your income. Remember that you have a goal to accomplish, and you might be tired. We're all tired, but it's for such a short period of time, just a couple of years in most people's cases, to get from survival mode to debt-free, or at least almost debt-free, where you're not struggling to keep your head above water anymore. So I want to challenge you to take steps to increase your income as well, because it's so important in this step. Number 5 is apply every extra dollar to your debt. Of course, you want to have a small starter emergency fund, about $500 to $1,000. This kind of works as your buffer, so you're not relying on credit cards anymore when unexpected things happen. But once you have that starter emergency fund, then you want to get super serious about knocking out your debt. And every single dollar is going to go towards your smallest debt at this point until it's paid off, and then you go to the second smallest, and so on and so on. So every single dollar, and I tell people all the time, if you get to the end of a pay period and you have $5 left, there's no shame in sending a $5 payment to a credit card, because if you don't, what'll happen to that $5? It'll disappear. You'll stop at a gas station, you'll drive through fast food or whatever it is, and that $5 will be gone. So you have to apply every single extra dollar to your debt and get super serious. And then you have to just keep hustling and reach your goals. Every single dollar counts at this point. So number 6, I also have a great blog and video about this, and it's actually my most popular blog post, is staying motivated, because I think we get so worked up and we get our budget started and we do all of these things, and then a few months in, maybe a year in, we just kind of let the motivation just drift off, and then we're right back to where we started. So you have to take steps to stay motivated. And of course, that's easier said than done. And us, throughout our years of our journey, we've had periods of time where our motivation has slacked off and we've had to re-motivate each other, or just sit down and go, okay, we're getting off track again. What are we going to do to keep ourselves motivated? So it is easier said than done, but you have to constantly remind yourself why you're doing this. So I always ask everybody, I have a free course where I help you guys track your spending. And in lesson 1, I ask you guys, what is your why? And I always ask everyone to hit reply and send me an email and tell me your why. And I get so many great responses, and it just makes me so happy, because everybody is doing this for a greater purpose. Most people, if you're a wife and a mom, almost always they will say, I'm doing it for my kids. I'm doing it so my kids can go to college, or so we can travel as a family, or so my husband doesn't have to work at this job that he hates, or I don't have to work at this job that I hate, or I'm a single mom and I really just want to own my own home, and all of these awesome reasons why. So whatever your reason why for doing this is, remind yourself of that. Maybe you need to write it down, hang it up somewhere, or keep it in your daily planner, or put it somewhere that you'll see it. But constantly remind yourself why you are doing this. You have a greater purpose. On the weeks that it gets hard, you're doing this for a reason. So just keep that in front of your mind at all times. Also, keep reviewing your budget. This isn't something that you can just once a year check up on. This is something that you're gonna have to do every single week, sometimes multiple times a week. There was in the beginning of our journey where I would sit down pretty much every day and just check through our budget, because I was so new at it, and I was so worried that I was gonna miss something or slip up. And it was so important to me that I kept reviewing it. And then as I got a little better, I could get to where I only checked on it once a week. And now I'm to the point where I sit down on payday and I make a really detailed budget. And then just every once in a while throughout the pay period, I'll go and check back in, make sure I didn't forget anything. But you get better at it as you go. But don't think that it's going to be just a one and done, make a budget kind of thing. It's not like that. You have to keep reviewing it as you go. Also remember to make small goals and to celebrate them along the way. So if you have, say, a debt that's maybe $10,000 and it's going to take you a really long time to pay it off, don't wait until that $10,000 is completely paid off to celebrate. Celebrate every 100, every 500, every 1,000, whatever makes sense to you, and really be proud of yourself for every little progress that you're making and throughout this whole process. It really breaks those goals down and makes it not feel so overwhelming. Also, surround yourself with motivation. So I've found that this journey can be very lonely, especially if you don't have a great support system around you, or your family and friends just aren't on the same journey, so they don't really understand all the struggles. So it's so important to surround yourself with motivation. This is one of the reasons why I actually started my website and started my Facebook group and everything that I do, because I really wanted to encourage other people that are also on this journey. So find Facebook groups. I have a great Facebook group, and there's so many more. There's Dave Ramsey groups, there's mom budgeting groups, there's all of these great places that you can find support and find people that will help keep you motivated. That's so important throughout this whole journey. And lastly, realize that the debt won't magically disappear. It's really hard work. And a lot of people that maybe they weren't paying attention throughout all of these years of our journey, and now they see to where we are, and they'll hear me say, oh yeah, we, a couple months ago we bought our boat in cash, and they think, oh, well, they must have had some kind of luck, or they must have magically stumbled across the money. They weren't paying attention all of those years that we were working really hard. We weren't going out to eat. We gave up all of these things. We weren't going on trips anymore. We were doing all of these things to get to where we are now. It's not magic. It's really hard work, but it's so rewarding and it's so, so worth it. So to recap real quick, my 6 steps from going from survival mode to becoming debt-free. First of all, get fed up. You have to be sick and tired of being sick and tired and just so frustrated with yourself for being stuck in survival mode, and let that frustration and anger motivate you into everything else that you have to do. Then change your mindset and start looking at everything into a positive aspect of it. Then you have to get your hands dirty and create that written budget. After you do that budget, you're gonna have to take steps to reduce your expenses and maybe even increase your income, if not both. Then you have to apply every single extra dollar to that debt and get so serious about knocking it out. And after you've done all that, you can't just walk away. You have to stay motivated and take all of these steps to keeping that motivation up so you can keep going throughout the months and years of this entire journey. You can't just pick and choose 1 or 2 of these things and say, oh, well, that one doesn't apply to me. All 6 of these apply to every single journey, and you have to do all of them. It's so important. I mean, imagine if you did all this mindset stuff, but you never created a written budget, or you actually created a budget, but you realized that it was negative and you never took steps to reduce your expenses. It's not gonna work if you don't do it all. You have to do all 6 steps to be able to get from survival mode to becoming debt-free, and I hope that these 6 steps helped you. Thank you so much for watching this video today. I hope that these steps helped you, and I hope that this motivated you to get started on your own budgeting journey. If you really want to get started on your budgeting journey and you're interested in the free course that I mentioned earlier, I'm going to link to it where you can sign up for my free 5-day email course to help you get started with tracking your spending, which is the first step to creating a successful written budget. If you liked this video, remember to hit the like button, leave me a comment, and every share helps me so much. So please share this video with your friends and your family, and remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can stay updated on all of my new videos, and I will see you guys next time.